Call this meeting to order, and our chairperson, would you like to lead us in the pledge?
Sure, if everybody could please stand. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. Thank you. So morning, everyone. Thank you for joining us for our deliberative session. So we're here during COVID, hence the sparseness of our space here. We're have a slightly different way we're going to conduct this meeting because of our social distancing. Today our goal is complete this in a timely fashion while still following with the governor's emergency orders 52, 74, and 81. Before we get started and I introduce our select people, I just have a few housekeeping items. Please make sure you keep your mask on and had your temperature taken when you came in by our captain. Thank you very much, Siggy. Per RSA 659:12, it requires you to be a registered voter and that you've been checked in by the supervisor of the checklist. Thank you, Julie. And you must be present in town hall to vote on any proposed amendments to the warrant articles. Our chairs, as you can see, are set up for social distancing. Please don't move them. Should you need to speak, step up to the microphone. Use the wipes. Please don't touch the mic. 95% of the people that stand at the podium end up holding on. So if you feel the need, you might want to wipe it first, and then please dispose of it in our wastebasket. Should anyone wish to speak to an article, I'll recognize those in the building first, and then Diane, thank you Diane, who's behind us in this private little cable room, she will let us know if anyone needs to talk via Zoom. My last reminder is the Sanborn School District deliberative session is February 3rd, 2021, I believe at 7 at the gymnasium. So let me get started. Let's introduce the people, our participants today, our selectmen. Chairperson Matt Burrell is to my right. Vice Chair Larry Foote, I believe, is stationed downstairs, checking people in if they come in that way. Lisa is on my far right, Lisa Gonya. Charlie Melvin is to my left. And Kate, I imagine that you're on Zoom? Yes, thank you, Kate. And we have our town clerk tax collector on my far left, Mary Jo McCullough, our town administrator, Nancy Wrigley, and again, Diane, our secretary, and our fabulous cable IT person, along, I imagine, with Jamie out back, and our supervisor of the checklist, Julie. We also have some department heads in the audience, and I imagine the fire chief, the police chief is coming, so we're going to just move on. We're going to go through our warrant articles, we're going to discuss them, amend them if necessary, and then put them on the ballot either as written or as amended. If we have people that want to speak to the article in an effort to explain them, we have, actually I have a sheet here somewhere, and people are going to be speaking. We've already had it arranged so that hopefully, again, we can move this along and discuss quickly and timely. When speaking, please use your mic and identify yourself. If you are not a Newton resident and you wish to make a comment, we actually need permission from the residents. So I will ask permission, and if there's no objection, you may make a comment. Clearly you can't vote. If you are a Newton resident but not a registered voter, you may speak, but just as a reminder, you may not vote. Reminder that our second session, our annual meeting, is March 9th, 2021 at the fire station, which is where we did the primary and the general. So hopefully on our 8 Merrimack Road, everyone will come and vote.
And no snowstorm.
And no snowstorm, per our chairperson. Okay, I just want to make sure that I have, my papers blew around, so sorry about that. Okay, so I'm going to read the warrant and we will start our meeting. To the inhabitants of the town of Newton, New Hampshire, in the county of Rockingham, in said state, qualified to vote in town affairs, you are hereby notified to meet for the first session of the article and transaction of all business other than voting by official ballot, to be held at the Newton Town Hall Saturday, January 30th, 2021 at 9 a.m. And the second session to be held at the Newton Fire Station, 8D Merrimack Road in said Newton on Tuesday, the 9th of March at 8 in the morning until 8 in the evening. At that time, we'll choose our necessary town officers for the ensuing year by official ballot and to vote on all issues before the town of Newton on the official ballot. The polls to be open at 8 o'clock in the forenoon and close not earlier than 8 o'clock in the evening. Number one, to elect all necessary town officers for the ensuing year. I believe we have a list. Mary Jo, would you like to read the list? I probably took yours.
Okay.
Thank
Am I
you.
on? I don't even know if I'm on. Maybe I am, maybe I'm not.
Oh, sorry about that.
Okay, for member of the select board, we have Lisa Gonier, Bill Clark, Edvin Knolik, and Matthew Burrow. For planning board, and that was a two vote for two people for 3 years. Planning board is also vote for 2 for 3 years. Bill Clark, Dan Guide, Mark Lavoy, Robert K. Marchand Jr., and Dennis Moran. Town clerk tax collector, 1 person for 3 years. Yours truly, Mary Jo McCullough. Trustee of the trust funds, we have 2 positions open this year. One is for 3 years, and Joseph Simone is running for that position. We have a position open for 2 years, and Ashley McKee is running for that position. Supervisors of the checklist is vote for 1 person for 6 years. Colette Ferrandi has signed up for that. Cemetery trustee, vote 1 person for 3 years is Michael Hughes. And trustee of the Gale Library, 1 person for 3 years is Lynn Camp. We have the treasurer position. No one has signed up for this. Someone will sooner or later be appointed to that position. If anybody out there has a good knowledge of bookkeeping numbers and would like to work daytime hours, let us know. Maybe we can get you in on a write-in campaign or have you appointed after the fact.
Thank you, Mary Jo.
Welcome.
Okay, you know, it dawned on me, I introduced everyone. For those of you that don't know me, I'm Tricia McCarthy. I'm the deputy moderator for today. Okay, number 2, shall the town of Newton raise and appropriate as an operating budget, not including appropriations by special warrant articles and other appropriations voted separately, the amount set forth on the budget posted with the warrant or as amended by vote of the first session for the purposes set forth herein, totaling $3,693,448. Should this article be defeated, the default budget shall be $3,678,940, which is the same as last year, with certain adjustments required by previous action of the town of Newton or by law. Or the governing body may hold 1 special meeting in accordance with RSA 40:13, Roman numeral X, Roman numeral 16, to take up the issue of a revised operating budget only. The estimated budget increase from the 2020 actual budget on the 2021 proposed budget represents a tax impact increase of 0.139 per 1,000 of assessed value. The Board of Selectmen does recommend this article 5-0. Any discussion?
I would just, open it up by saying the board, as we always do, has been working on this since November with the department heads. Our department heads, need to continue to get credit for the challenges they faced, in a non-COVID year, but this was a COVID year. We have an increase, I think it equates to 2.48%. We know it's been a tough year for people all around, so we endeavored to keep that increase as low as possible. Most of this increase you're going to see, I think the spreadsheets are going around, and I think online it's available. Most of it is around some salary increases, which we've been holding off holding off of for a long time, and the board feels we need to move forward to, in order to retain some good people. And the second part of it is some building issues that we've been holding off for a long time, and we feel we can there's a warrant article coming up later that we'll talk about, which will hopefully cover those if it passes, but if it doesn't, we have these immediate needs that will just cost the town more money in the future if we don't proceed with them. So that's what I have.
Thank you, Mr. Chairperson. Any other discussion? Seeing none, this will remain on the ballot as written. Article 3, to see if I apologize, my glasses are not cooperating this morning. I know, it's the mask thing. To see if the town will vote to raise and appropriate the sum of $10,200 to be deposited in the Engineering and Renovation Capital Reserve Fund created in 2015. Said funds to come from the unassigned fund balance. This represents the rental fees received from 8 Merrimack Road. This article would result in no increase in the amount to be raised by taxes. The Board of Selectmen does recommend this article 5-0. Chairman, did you want to speak?
I think I'm on for this one. So
Yes.
this should be familiar to people. We see this one every year. We do have a tenant at 8 Merrimack Road. So the tenant pays the rental fees each month. They go into the unassigned fund balance. What this article allows us to do is move that money into the Engineering Renovation Capital Reserve Fund and makes it available for maintenance and on town buildings, so we can reinvest it into the town. So this is one we have every year. Hopefully people will vote for it. Thank you.
Thank you. Any more discussion?
Tricia?
Yes.
I'd like to make an amendment to that article.
Okay.
At the end of the article, it says this represents the rental fees received. I'd like to add at 8 Merrimack Road,
I did.
but I
Okay,
need
you want to
put
make
that
the
in
amendment?
motion.
Okay. Any more discussion on the amendment?
Do we need to, we need a second on that, so I will second that motion.
Okay. Second for
Who
discussion?
motioned it? I
You
didn't.
said you would like to make the motion.
No, I said I'd like to make an
Then
amendment.
I move to accept the amendment. There we go.
I'll
Okay.
second.
Okay. We have a motion. We have a second. Any discussion? It's housekeeping. Thank you. All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you. Motion passes as amended. Okay. Number 4, Article 4, to see if the town will vote to raise and appropriate the sum of $300,000 to be deposited into the Town Building Capital Reserve Fund created in 2006. Said funds to come from the unassigned fund balance with no amount to be raised from taxation. This sum represents part of the proceeds from the sale of the old fire station at 35 South Main Street. This amount would result in no increase in the amount to be raised in taxes. The Board of Selectmen does recommend this article 4-1, and I believe Selectman Lisa is going to speak to this.
Yes, so the old fire station was sold this year. The board felt that it would be prudent to put the money into the general government town buildings fund because we have aging infrastructure, things are starting to fall apart. For example, the Marshall House roof just had to be replaced because it sprung a leak. The library roof has to be repaired. The floors downstairs, the list just keeps growing, and either we're going to be coming to the voters saying we need X amount of money, we need X amount of money, or we need to put money into a fund that will allow us to try to get ahead of the issues that we are having with our town buildings. They're old, they need to be kept up. So if this article passes, then the funds reserved in the operating budget will not be spent and it will go back to the voters. Also, there won't be items in upcoming budgets for town building repairs because we will have that fund for it.
non-lapsing.
All set?
All set?
Okay. Thank you, Lisa. Do we have any discussion on Article 3?
Yep,
Yes.
I'm the one that voted no. Just thought I'd let everybody know that. I believe that when we first started to get the new fire station, we were promised that the money would go to buy down the note. Apparently, the money can't buy down the note, so I would like to see the money go back to the taxpayers. And
Thank you.
That's my reason why I voted the way I did.
Thank you, Mr. Melvin. Mr. Donovan?
Good morning. Robert
Morning.
Donovan, been in Newton for a little while. My concern is the fire department sprinkler system still needs to be completed and some other things at the fire department. I want somewhere on record saying that this money isn't going to be dispersed to fix all the buildings and then lo and behold, we can't finish the sprinkler system. So somewhere I'd like it said that the fire department's needs and concerns are going to be more important than any other building, that's going to be taken care of before you spend any more money on Marshall Building, Police Station, Town Hall, or whatever. I think we need to finish one building before we start worrying about other problems.
I guess the way I would say it, and if I'm part of the decision-making, is those are my priorities, is the 8 Merrimack Road. One of the things is if you look at the description of the fund, it can be used, that one with the rental income we just talked about, that's specifically for 8 Merrimack Road. This is for all the town buildings. So my thing is, I don't know if we can do anything today to, guarantee it or put it on record, but if it's up to me and I'm voting on this in a month, 2 months or whatever, my priority is to make sure we get the sprinklers all set before we do much else. So.
Like I said, my concern is I know the police department needs work, I know other buildings, this building. I just don't want to have all those repairs done and then all of a sudden, hey, we don't have the money to finish the fire department sprinkler system, which
Yeah,
is
no.
kind of thrown in the town side since the place was built.
Yeah, we wouldn't want that.
Okay.
either.
And we actually, just for clarification, the statute does allow us, as Mr. Donovan said, to actually earmark funds. We're not changing the topic of the warrant article, so we actually can state that the $300,000 can be used to finish the fire station. That does not change the topic, and so we can move forward saying it as, I think it has to be an amendment. It's very similar to what we do when we target money, say for the transfer station, earmark it into a certain, when it's coming from a certain fund, we can earmark it. We can do the same thing with this type of article. So just so that you know, in answer to your question, we can earmark it for that.
So can there be an amendment saying that the funds must be used to finish the fire department? Any other funds can be used for other town buildings?
I believe we can make that amendment.
Tricia?
Yes.
Are you sure we can make that amendment? Because doesn't that affect the actual fund?
No,
Because
it
the
can-
fund has its own purpose?
No, I actually already checked into this, but thank you, Lisa. We obviously can get further clarification, but for this deliberative session, we can make an amendment to earmark that money out of this fund. It still goes to this fund, but then that 300,000 used to finish whatever has to be done at the fire station, coming from the capital reserve fund, and anything else, like Mr. Donovan said, the other buildings we referenced, then it could go there if there's anything
I'm
extra.
hearing that it's going to be about another $190,000 to finish the sprinkler system and stuff at the fire department.
Okay,
That'll leave another $110,000 to fix other
to
buildings.
do the other things.
Yeah, I don't know if that's a true number. We don't have
I'm hearing
that.
that's what
Okay.
it is, that's why I'm asking, because I
Yeah.
just want to make sure the fire department's finally done. If we can make that amendment, that the fire department takes priority, to finish before any other funds are spent on other buildings.
Okay,
All right, who's ever get the minutes, is that?
I have a question.
okay.
I know what Bob's saying about the sprinkler system, but is that part of the motion, not a broad statement that we're going to fix everything in the fire department with that money?
No, I believe it's to finish the fire, yeah.
The sprinkler at the fire department?
Well, I don't know what else needs to be done, I know the sprinkler system, but if there's other things that haven't been completed
Well, see, that's my question, because that's a broad statement. There could be lots and lots of things being brought up. It's not clarified.
Okay, yes, Chief.
Good evening. Oh, good evening. Wow. Been up a little
Up all
bit
night.
last night. I apologize. I tried reaching out to the project manager to be here in case anything was brought up. Apparently, I guess he was asked not to be here. I do know.
And by the way, that's not true.
Okay. I'm just letting.
No one was asked not to be.
I have the text.
Okay.
He has a punch list. He has a punch list because being on the committee,
Yes, as I was.
you were on the committee, the intent was to finish the entire project, which meant the driveway, everything, the police station, parking lot, the whole thing. But he has the complete list.
Punch list. Okay.
Okay? I don't want to, I remember what the committee had for the list. And I could tell you, if the numbers that Mr. Donovan just mentioned, and all you have is 300,000, yeah, I don't think you're going to have enough to finish the complete
Package.
project.
Okay.
But, like I said, as a committee member, not speaking as the fire chief, as a committee member, it was a whole package. And that was what was submitted, because I remember seeing it because it was in color, of the driveway, which would alleviate all the parking issues the police department has, their driveway, the whole thing.
So perhaps to expand on what Chief Algodino said and Nancy Wrigley, our town administrator. So perhaps it's not everything that could possibly come up that has to be done, but you could fine tune it to the original building project. Would you say that, Chief? The original building project for the fire station, not additional things that might be coming up now? Would that make sense?
I'm just not sure there's enough money. This
Oh,
300,000.
oh, there probably isn't.
Isn't
Right.
going to cover it, and you've got other buildings that have holes in the roof, and we have
Yep.
to fix them.
I mean, I would go back to, and it's not my motion, but I would go back to the fact of, you know, people, we need to be clear. There's still money left in the bond. There's still money left in interest on the bond. We don't have the final numbers as to what we're going to need beyond that. We're talking about the sprinkler system, basically, I think is what we're talking about, is completing that. So I don't know if we want to be specific about the sprinkler system completion at the fire station. Because beyond that, there are things we could still invest in at 8 Merrimack Road, but I think with the motion, we want to be clear. And again, it's not my motion, but I think what you're saying is you want to finish that before we do anything else.
I mean, we can amend it to say that the money is earmarked to finish the sprinkler system and any other safety codes that need to be fixed in the building. Finished.
Write it out, please. You're making the suggestion, write it out. Give it to somebody. I want it word for word. I'm not picking this out of the conversation. Please.
Hi, this is Kate Michaels. Can you hear me? I just want to reiterate if you had checked our minutes when we were going through this.
Hi.
as Matt.
Hi, Jeremy Fitzpatrick.
Yeah, Kate speaking.
Kate is.
Oh,
Sorry, I just wanted to reiterate what Matt said. If you looked in the public minutes, we were all very cognizant of the sprinkler system getting priority, so I'm very comfortable if that is added in a way that is, you know, that works into the amendment.
Kate, it's very hard to hear you, hon.
Oh. How about now?
Better.
Oh, I was simply saying that if you look back in our minutes, I discussed as well prioritizing the sprinkler system, so we're in code. So
Okay.
just so everyone knows that we were all very cognizant of that, so.
Thank you, Kate. Mr. Fitzpatrick?
Yeah, Jamie Fitzpatrick. I just like a clarification. We're saying 300,000 of the sum, part of the sum. What was the sum, and where's the balance of the sum going?
I think, was it 385?
It's 375, and it's already in the fund balance from last year. So we're asking to take the 300 from the fund balance to put into that
So
capital.
100% of the sale price would eventually, with the passing of this, get into this fund. Is that correct?
The whole amount went into the fund balance, and we're only asking to take 300,000.
So the unexpended fund balance would have, if this passes, there would be 75 grand from that transaction that would still be in that balance.
Still in the
And
unexpended.
in order to move that, we'd have to have another warrant article, basically.
Okay.
And to be clear, it's the unassigned fund
Unassigned.
balance.
Thank you.
This is unanticipated revenue that was not earmarked for a particular appropriation, so it is an unassigned revenue, which means it goes into the unassigned fund balance. The unexpended balance would also go into the unassigned fund balance, so whatever we didn't spend for appropriation also goes into this fund. So to help people understand what this fund is, it refers to the funds that are held by the town that have not been assigned to another fund, such as capital reserve, revolving, or other fund. These funds can only be used for an emergency expense with DRA approval, to reduce the tax rate, or by warrant article. The town fund balance policy states that the town will strive to keep the unassigned fund balance between 5 to 10% of the total appropriations, which includes the town, schools, and county, needed to operate the town. GFOA and DRA recommends 8% to 17% be kept as a contingency fund. So that gives you an idea of what this fund balance is. We do need to keep a certain amount of funds in there, as recommended by the DRA and the GFOA. We're less than what they recommend, but we are within what they're recommending.
So 75,000 is going to stay in this.
I'd like to correct,
Emergency.
if I could, I'd like to correct the amount. We got 380, and what we got after everybody else was paid their commission or whatever was 357,000.
Okay.
That sounds like the
So it's
number
only
I
Yes,
remember.
that's
57,000.
correct. Yep.
So 57 is being held for contingency emergency, and 300 is being requested with this article to go into this fund to do building repairs, and depending on the motion, part of that being earmarked for the sprinkler system.
Yeah.
Now, that 57,000 can also be going to the voter, or to the taxpayers.
Correct.
Because what'll happen is, after the warrant articles are voted and whatever is passed, then we set the tax rate. At that point, if anyone has paid attention to previous years, the Board of Selectmen get together, they find out what was passed, what the total is, and then how much funds we have in the fund balance that we could remove, stay within our buffer, to help reduce that tax rate.
Correct.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome.
Thank you, Jamie. Yes, Chief? Thank you, Lisa.
You're welcome.
Good morning, Board. I'd like to speak as the fire chief. I know Mr. Donovan is going to make his motion. We all know the sprinkler systems. That has to get done. We know it's going to get done. What I'm going to ask the board, and I've had a conversation with some of the board, is for my members. I'd like to hear it from the board that the board will put the vehicle exhaust system in that fire station.
That is
The
one of
board
my
remembers,
priorities.
that was, we had a hearing in here, and that was a big thing. That was part of what was one of the, not the agreement, that was discussed between the project manager and myself and the committee on one of the priorities that had to get done. The other recommendation that I'd like the board to say yes to is, you don't want to do the street sign, you want to keep those signs out there in the dark. It's your building. But the buildings, the police department and fire department, and if that's the highway garage, need a sign. The fire department is getting police department packages, police department's getting fire department packages. It just says 8 Merrimack Road. The buildings have no signage on them. And I can stand here and tell you, I tell delivery people, how can you not know the big red building with the shiny trucks in it is a fire station? I'm sorry. And I wish Chief Jewett was here, because I'm sure he'd back me up on this. We're getting each other's packages. The buildings need signage, okay? I understand town buildings need work, but in my opinion, let's finish one project before we start another project, because I'm sure, standing here today, those roofs have been leaking more than a year. Okay? That's all I'm saying. Some of us that were on the committee worked hard. The members of that department worked hard to get a fire station.
Absolutely.
Let's finish it. And I understand money's tight. Then we shouldn't have bought a fire station. Let's finish it. That's it.
I mean, Chief, to be fair, I don't think anybody here is saying don't finish it.
I understand that, but
Right, but I'm going to answer your question, and to me, if I'm still here,
Yep.
that what you've just described, as far as the fire department goes, those are priorities for me. So,
And that was, excuse me for interrupting, what you've mentioned is still part of that punch list from the original project, correct?
correct.
Okay.
I mean, windows, as you know, being on the committee, windows were taken out of the fire station.
Right. Okay.
The intent of putting it back, unfortunately, there was a hurdle with the sprinkler system. But we were on the committee. The vote was always the selling of the fire station goes back to pay the bond. Well, it can't be done, so let's use the funds to finish a project before we go to another project. That's all I'm saying. That's all.
Thank you,
And I
Chief.
appreciate what the board's done so far.
Thank you, Chief. Okay, Mr. Donovan?
Try this again. Okay, if we can do it, to have the money earmarked for the sprinkler system, signs, and apparatus bay exhaust system, and any other safety issues at the fire station. I didn't think about the signs, but now the chief's saying packages are going to the wrong place. It could be a safety issue when somebody needs a fire department and they're banging on the police department at 12 o'clock at night, or vice versa, because they can't tell a red building from a blue building. I mean, to me, that would be a safety issue also.
Okay.
We can have that amended in there, so we have at least those 3 safety issues taken care of.
Okay. And you've got that written down for Mary Jo, right?
Pretty much.
Okay, okay, so we have an amendment on the floor that has been seconded. Is there any more discussion?
Yes,
So there
please
is-
read it. Please
Yeah.
read it in its
there is
entirety.
comments on Zoom, by the way.
Okay, yeah, Diane said she'd let me know, so,
She just,
oh, she did? Okay. I don't have a thing. Mary Jo?
Let's do the Zoom.
Okay, Diane, who's on Zoom?
We have people on Zoom, but I have no comment. Nobody here at this time has raised their hand. I just wanted to make sure that you remembered to ask me if
Yes.
there is anybody.
Yes, okay.
Okay, so at this point, I do not see any hands raised or anybody unmuted.
Thank you, Diane.
Welcome.
Mary Jo?
I just need it read in its entirety so we know where these words go, what gets crossed out, what gets added. This is not just something you want to say, throw this in there.
Okay.
Read the article.
the only thing I would add is, I believe it was last year, we had a warrant article for the sign over there. Am I correct, is my recollection?
Yep.
And that failed.
Yeah, that's a road sign, not a building sign.
Okay.
Okay. So, do you, Mary Jo, do you want me to take Bob's notes and read it? Or do you want Bob to,
Ooh, just.
How do you want me to do it?
Somebody needs to read the article the way you want to vote on it. Okay, because you're
Do
changing
you
it.
want me to do it, Bob?
I need to know what it says before any of you vote on it.
All right, let's see, to see if the town will vote to raise and appropriate the sum of $300,000 to be deposited in the town buildings capital reserve fund created in 2006. Said funds to come from an unassigned fund balance with no amount to be raised from taxation. Money to be earmarked for the sprinkler system and signs, apparatus bay exhaust system, and any other safety issues at the new fire station before being used for other town buildings.
Followed by this sum represents the proceeds?
Right.
Okay, thank you.
thank you. Mr. Fitzpatrick?
So my only concern is we're making an earmark for the entire amount of money. And the sprinkler system's gonna be a big part of it. The exhaust system's gonna be a big part of it. If that exceeds this, I think that this would mean that there is no money to cover like a leak in the roof at the library, and that we will just have to suffer through the library leaking through in exchange for things like signs for the buildings. The question is this list of things going to consume 100% of that 300,000? And if it is, we're then saying the town is not allowed to use any of that money for other needs that might actually be a greater need than some of the needs that are being defined here. So it's kind of hard for me to vote without knowing, did we just take 100% of the 300,000 for the zero mark or not? So if there's any data that says how much that is, that'd be helpful data.
Nancy, can you comment to any of that, or government building money or anything?
All I can say is there is some funding in the budget that we would return if we didn't use it. But if they're going to consume the whole amount, we're going to have to raise taxes on that other money in the budget. And that was our hope, that we wouldn't have to do that, but we had to do both just to be safe.
And this was just brought up
Yep.
as a possible use of these funds here today to the board. So we are not prepared to say this is how much this list of items is going to cost the taxpayers. We weren't prepared for it.
Okay. Any more discussion? Diane, anyone online? Or Zoom?
The people online, but I don't see anybody having their hand raised unless Kate has just unmuted herself. Maybe she has a comment.
No, I think the next article will address the library roof issue.
Right,
Thank you. I was going to say that, but thank you, Kate.
I was going to too.
Thank you. All right, so we have a motion on the floor to amend Article 4. It's been second. We've had a discussion. Let's take a vote on the amendment. All in favor? I think you can. Aye.
Aye.
Okay. Any opposed? 1, 2, 3, 4 opposed. Okay. Motion carries by the majority as amended. And I
think the, Mr. Pavero might have, you good? You want to?
I'm way so good with this.
Okay, cool.
Okay. All right, so motion carries as amended, and Mr. Donovan has written down the wording so that our town clerk has that, and we're going to move on then.
So, silly question. The recommendation 4-1, right, was when we did it at the public hearing. Is that unchanged now, or do we have to re-vote on that? We haven't changed the general
We haven't changed
thing,
it.
so I guess that's sort of my question.
It hasn't changed the purpose of the warrant.
Yeah, so I
Right.
guess, so it remains.
I believe it still
will remain as
remains
4-1.
the original, yes, and then the amendment is also 4-1.
Okay.
Okay.
Is Larry voting downstairs?
He should be.
And is he contact?
I am.
He's,
Okay,
yeah, he's here, we're hearing him.
because I didn't hear him, so.
Yeah.
Yeah, he's checked in.
Okay.
Okay, thank you everyone for that. So Article 5, to see if the town will vote to name the Board of Selectmen as agents of the Gale Library Building Capital Reserve Fund, established in 1982 and renamed in 1998. This article would result in no increase in the amount to be raised by taxes. And I believe Selectman Kate is going to speak to this.
Yeah, this is pretty straightforward. In the warrants that created this long ago, we don't know if it was because the wording wasn't required, but there are no agents, so this money is sitting there. Not that we want to spend it right away, but we literally, in an emergency, cannot use it unless this warrant passes. And can you guys hear me okay?
Yes, we can, thank you.
Okay, good, wasn't sure. And to reassure the voters, we all look through this constantly through the lens of trying to keep our taxes down and have pride in our town so our buildings don't collapse. So the idea here is this fund was originally created for, well, we're not even sure completely, but potential renovation, new construction, addition, I would get outside of an operating budget, emergency improvements, maintenance, or repairs that couldn't be covered. So this money, we're not planning on spending it now, right? There's a normal operating budget, but if there is an emergency, and we do not have the funds, this is good to know we have it, as was spoken to before. Because, if the library roof leaks, it's a big deal. You lose everything. Not that that's what it is for, but it's insurance for the town so that at the end of the year, we don't have to raise taxes. It's just, in our opinion, a good idea to have us as agents in case of emergency.
Thank you, Kate.
I would just like to add that it is not just for emergencies or maintenance, but it is also for improvements. There are things that the library would like to be able to do to improve their facilities, and they cannot do so because they don't have the funds.
Right.
Being able to expend these funds, they can put it into their budget, they can come to the board, and the board can authorize it because it is a town building and we are now named as agents. That is the purpose of doing this.
Yeah, and I hope I was clear when I said out loud, it is for future library renovations, addition, new construction. In addition, as agents, if there was a dire need and there wasn't in the budget, we could do that as well.
Thank you, Kate. Thank you, Lisa. Any discussion? Mr. Donovan?
Just curious, does anybody know how much money is in that fund?
Yes, can you hear me? It's $165,974.48.
So that's definitely more than enough to do a roof there.
Yep.
Correct.
Oh, yeah, I'm not saying we're even doing
So
it.
we're,
People's
library roof
asked
is
for-
all set then?
If
If it passes.
then
we have money
yes.
left over from the,
Then the money would not come out of the operating budget, and it wouldn't need to come out of the town buildings budget because it could come out of this Gale Library Fund.
right. Okay, I just wanted to
Thank you.
question that, so.
Thank you, Mr. Donovan. Thank you, Lisa. Thank you, Kate. Any other discussion? Chief, did I see? No? You're all set? Asked and answered, I'm sure. Okay. If there is no amendment to this article, all in favor as written? Yes?
Aye.
Aye.
Okay. This will appear on the ballot as written. Article 6, to see if the town will vote to increase the veterans' tax credit to $750 as provided in a recent amendment to RSA 72:28. If adopted, this will increase the credit from $500 to $750. That will be available to any resident who is eligible for the standard or optional veterans tax credit or all the veterans tax credit as previously voted by the town of Newton under RSA 72:28 and RSA 72:28-B. This article would result in no increase in the amount to be raised by taxes. The Board of Selectmen does recommend this article 5-0. Any discussion? Roger, I think you are up there.
Yes, can you hear me?
We can.
Okay. In 2018, a law was passed to amend the veterans tax credit to allow municipalities to increase the tax credit from previous maximum of 500 to 750. This is the article asked to adopt that. The last time that Newton increased the veterans tax credit was 2009, when they brought it up to the maximum that was allowed then of $500. In 2017, the town voted to adopt the all veterans tax credit. Under the original veterans tax credit, only veterans who served during specific times of war were eligible. The all veterans tax credit extended that credit to all veterans. This change mostly affected those who served between Korea and Vietnam and between Vietnam and Persian Gulf. So it's just to authorize the town to adopt a change that has been approved by the legislature and the governor.
Thank you, Roger. Any discussion? Seeing none, all in favor of Article 6 as read?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Hearing none, article passes as written. Article 7. Oh, yes.
just spoke, I should, Carl didn't check it.
Oh, Roger Hamill, sorry.
Oh, all right, yep.
Yes.
Thank you.
You're welcome. All right, Article 7, to see if the town will vote as proposed by the Board of Selectmen to raise and appropriate the sum of $25,000 for the purpose of holding a hazardous waste day for Newton residents only, with $25,000 to come from the Transfer Station Recycling Special Revenue Fund created in 2003 for this purpose. This article would result in no increase in the amount to be raised by taxes. Board of Selectmen does recommend this article 5-0. And I believe our transfer station manager is going to speak to this. Pete, are you on Zoom?
I am, yes.
Thank you.
So this one is pretty straightforward like other years past. This is just for the Newton residents to get rid of any hazardous chemicals they might have laying around from projects or repairs done to their house.
Okay. Thank you. Any discussion?
I would also like to add that this is, while we're appropriating $25,000, if we do not pay $25,000 to dispose of the hazardous that is collected, if we pay less, then the rest of the money goes back into the fund.
Thank you. Thank you, Lisa. Anyone else? Okay. All in favor of this article as written?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Hearing none, motion passes as written. Article 8, don't go away, Pete. To see if the town will vote to, as proposed by the Board of Selectmen, to raise and appropriate the sum of $5,000 for the purpose of repairing the tractor, with the $5,000 to come from the Transfer Station Recycling Special Revenue Fund created in 2003 for this purpose. This article would result in no increase in the amount to be raised by taxes. The Board of Selectmen does recommend this article 5-0. Pete, would you like to be on board again?
Yeah, I think the wording might need to be changed for this one. This is strictly to have the 4 tires foam filled, so we won't have to pay somebody to come down and repair when we get a flat. So it's not for repairing the tractor. This is just for the tires.
So we're going to have to make an amendment. Hold on one second, Nancy?
I would just like to make a comment. You never know if something goes wrong with the tractor. You're better off to leave it as is in case something else comes up that we're not aware of.
And I think this was discussed in the public hearing or one of the meetings that
Yep.
flexibility is a key ingredient here.
You don't want to be too specific because then you can't
What
spend
if
it.
we just amended repairing to maintaining, or maintain,
Yeah, that's a good
for
one.
the purpose of maintaining the tractor?
Yeah.
Or maintenance on the tractor?
Is that an amendment, Lisa?
Yes, I am recommending an amendment, or proposing an amendment to replace the word repairing with maintaining.
Maintaining.
Second.
Okay, so I have a motion to amend. I have a second. Any discussion?
I would ask, Pete, are you okay with that?
Yes.
Okay. Mary Jo, are you okay with? You are, okay. So we have an amendment, we have a second, we've had discussion. Let's vote in favor of the amendment. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Hearing none, amendment passes as, do you want me to reread it, Mary Jo? Okay. Amendment passes. Thank you, Pete. Thank you, Lisa. Okay, Article 9. To see if the town will vote to authorize the selectmen to enter into a 5-year lease purchase agreement to purchase 19 self-contained breathing apparatus known as SCBAs and all related equipment payable over a term of 5 years at a rate of $51,482.24 annually, and to raise and appropriate $51,482.24 for the first year's payment. The full cost of the 19 self-contained breathing apparatus is $243,793.25. The amount of the lease reflects the trade-in value of $25,000 on the 19 self-contained breathing apparatus being replaced. This agreement does contain an escape, I think that means clause, an escape clause. Majority vote is required. This article would result in an increase of 0.080 increase per thousand of assessed value to be raised by taxes. The Board of Selectmen does recommend this article 5-0. And I believe the fire chief, are you going to speak to this?
I think he actually has a show and tell to do.
I think he does.
Love show and tell.
Yes,
Love show and tell.
a show and tell.
This is the lovely thing why fire is a little different than other departments. Thank you. Moderator, people have asked, excuse me, what SCBA related equipment, this is just some of it. Mask, voice hat, the harness, the bottle,
Wow.
regulator, pass device. Okay? The reason we're here is around 2017, per NFPA standards, anybody wants to know the standards, feel free to email me, call me, stop by the station. It's 1852. And the manufacturer's recommendation that the cylinders get tested, hydro tested every 5 years. Okay, approximately 2017, the board remembers I took office, I believe in 2015. We had them, they were due for the hydro testing. At that time, we lost 14 cylinders that could no longer be hydro tested because they had the 15-year mark. At that time, if the board also remembers, and the voters remember, I believe we were going for a new station. We weren't going to do both. So what I did with the help of the selectmen was we ended up purchasing 7 used bottles that only had about 1 more cycle left. And the manufacturer loaned 7 bottles to the town. In 2018, we started with a grant, hoping that we could get a grant. We were denied, and we started the work. We came extremely close last year. We made it to peer review. One of the things that peer review found, and they sent back, per the grant writer, was that the fire department never asked for assistance in purchasing the SCBA's. Also last year, due to COVID, and Trish did a lot of grants with Larry through the EOC, one of the things FEMA did was they waived the grant match, which meant that a lot of departments were not going to get what they needed.
Right.
Because there was no more money coming in to offset the amount. Okay? The board also, if everybody remembers, we also did the new truck last year. So we are at the point of asking the voters to fund the SCBA's. We have one more shot for a grant. There is no guarantee that even if the voters say no to this warrant article, we are going to get a grant. What we do know standing here is this week alone, the duty members took 3 of those Scott packs out of service because inside the mask, they're called heads-up displays.
So the members know, well, the firefighter, doesn't have to be a member, knows how much air is left in this bottle. That heads-up display goes up, then this whole system is out of service. So we lost those. Once again, I made a phone call and asked the rep, the manufacturer, what is the chances of getting loaners? We got lucky. We have loaners until, I think, a couple of days after the election. Then those loaners go back. If we didn't have those loaners, one of the fire trucks would be out of service. Again, if anybody has any questions, the standard is online.
Could you explain to the public in TV land and whatever, when do you use those? Is it every fire? What happens if you don't have them, for instance?
I didn't bring my glasses, but
Okay.
I'm going to attempt.
Okay.
I will take it directly out of NFPA 1852, 1.1 scope 1.1.1 is the standard from NFPA. Okay? Again, forgive me, because I know I'm going to miss some stuff.
I could hold it back
Okay.
here for you.
Emergency operations where respiratory protection is needed from IDLH, immediate life and health. Okay, the L. All right. Atmosphere is included but not limited to confined space, hazardous materials release, chemical, biological, radiological, nuclear incidents, firefighting. So that means if we take them off the truck, no firefighting.
Hopefully we don't have the nuclear to worry about, but
Medical treatment, EMS. We've used them in our career. They were starting to be used. We were almost going to use them last year during COVID. But we stopped using them because we were taking them out of service as fast as we were using them.
Okay.
So medical, trench rescue, any operations where the atmosphere is not stable or improving, carbon monoxide calls. So other than basically doing simple EMS, they need to be on a fire apparatus. They are required, per the standard, to be on every riding seat. So the driver, if the truck is a 6-passenger, the driver doesn't have to have one. There has to be 5 on the truck.
5 on the truck, okay.
Okay? Without those, we have an ambulance, so we can do medical calls. We go to a CO call and there's any readings, we stay outside, we will have to wait for EMS. We go, because it's happened in my career, been doing this since 79, give or take, 1980. First time ever put one of those on a medical was in this town. Was in Newton. Okay? You're basically shutting down the fire station, is
Okay.
what you're doing.
Okay.
In a nutshell, because what happens is our trucks, like I said, if I take one out of service, that truck that has 5, if I take that one pack off it, that truck's out of service. Per the standard.
I see.
I will come in front of the Board of Selectmen and ask them to overrule the NFPA standards. That way the liability goes on that side of the table, not on this side of the table.
Okay.
Okay? My job is to inform the selectmen and to inform the public.
Okay.
We are at, like I said, if this fails, we will try for a grant. If the grant fails, I will come in front of the board. Okay? We try not to use them, which it's ludicrous, it's a fire department. We try not to use them. We don't use them for training anymore. We have plenty that are out of service that we can't use. Like I said, we're at that year, there was 14, we probably have 20 of the bottles sitting out of service. We just had to ask our neighbor, Kingston, for a pack, just so we can stay in service.
Okay. Thank you, Chief.
Chief, how do you clean them?
It all comes apart. It'd take me a little while, but I'll just break it down quick. It all comes apart.
Yeah.
Masks are cleaned with water and bleach solution. the packs are scrubbed quickly at the scene. We adopted a protocol that we don't go back on the truck contaminated. Members bring clothes with them.
Close.
So if we go into a structure fire or anything, that gear has to be used. They get scrubbed down. All the equipment goes in a garbage bag. It goes in the back of the pickup truck and gets decontaminated at the fire station. This stuff gets soap and water. Okay? What the members can do, because they were properly trained, inside the back here, that makes all the noise. There's a set of batteries. There's a set of batteries up top. We can replace the batteries. Okay? We can replace the batteries. Not only is that providing the air, the breathing air for the members, or for firefighters, it's also provided their life safety feature. They stay still. Different manufacturers are different, but I believe it's 30 seconds. If you ever see a news and you hear that chirping, and you see firefighters doing the little SCBA dance, that's because there's a sensor in them. So if a firefighter falls and is motionless, it starts chirping. It will light up red on the regulator, little light, and that's that big chirping, so they can be located. So hence the reason why you don't put a firefighter in a building without one of them.
So the new ones advanced for them?
This is actually, from what I was told, these are about 20 years old, give or take.
Oh, they've got to be advanced.
This probably, if this passes, you're probably going to get the 4th generation up from this, which will be a lot lighter,
Really?
a lot safer. The bottles, it'll almost look the same, but the masks will be different. The bottles will be lighter. The harnesses will be lighter. You won't have that 40-something pounds on a human being's back.
Yep.
Wow.
And they have, again, there's a lot of safety issues have come up since when those were purchased.
Okay. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you for that question, Charlie.
So Trish, to get back to the article, can you confirm to me that the last line of that article, just before majority vote required, ends with escape
No,
period?
it should have clause in there.
I know, that's why I'm asking.
That's why I said it. I
Yeah.
said it.
So are we making that amendment? Did you make it, or?
Should.
Should?
Yeah.
Okay.
Make it official.
So I would like to move to amend Article 9 to place the word clause before the period and after the word escape.
Okay.
I'll second.
So we have an amendment. We have a second. Any discussion?
Yes.
Go ahead.
This is Diane. I just had a question for the chief. How many of those devices, those scubbers, that you have that are not in service, plus your 19 that are in service at this time?
Right now, we have 3 that are sitting in the fire station for the manufacturer's
So
rep.
is that 20? So
No.
you add the 3 to the 19, or you taking away from the 19?
We took away from the 19. The department has a total of 19.
Okay.
Okay?
And-
So we took
Okay.
3 out of service, and they brought us replacements for the ones that are out of service. And I believe I misspoke. They brought us 4. They brought us 1 extra, because the way we're going, they're being taken out of service. We have 1 spare sitting.
That's a loaner.
It's a loaner, correct. The loaners, the total loaners, the 4 that was delivered, are only there until the March meeting. That's it.
Okay.
The 14 bottles that were purchased, the town owns 7 of them that will be going out of service because they'll have their 15-year mark, that the manufacturer says the carbon cylinders have to be replaced. NFPA says that's the life expectancy on
Okay,
those
I
cylinders.
understand that. Okay, what I was trying to get at is, right now you have a total of 20 whether they're in service or out of service. Is that a correct statement?
19.
In low, 19, but you have an extra spare, you just said.
Yes,
So you have
yes, I
20.
apologize.
So
But
my
the-
question, so the question is, and that's total. There are none sitting off that are off to the side of the room that are not being, that you're not counting. Is that a correct statement?
That is a correct statement.
Okay. My thought process was, it sounded like you were using some for training purposes while that were not in service, and I was wondering if those could be refurbished at a lower cost. But you're telling me you only have 20 in the station. That's it.
We did have extras, but we did replace a vehicle. When we became chief, there was a couple of extras. We do not take the harness, the breathing part. The bottles, we know. Anytime these have to be serviced, per the standard, they have to go to a licensed service tech. They go out, if they come back, red tag saying they need to be taken out of service, then they're taken out of service. I am crossing my fingers that the 3 they're going to hopefully pick up on Monday do not come back red tagged. Because if they come back red tagged, then we could have something different. We are trying not to use the 7 tanks and the 4 packs, complete setups, that are loaners. Because like anything else, it is a loaner. It gets damaged, we own it. So we're trying to avoid loaners. That's one of the main reasons why it actually was the town of Kingston. As soon as that Captain Zielinski brought that setup, he was asked to do me a favor. Take it back. That's almost $10,000 loaner. It was brand new, never used, still bubble wrapped. These things can get dropped. You can put them in a fire. You can ruin them quickly. I did not want to take the responsibility. If I can't buy a new one for my own department, why am I going to buy a new one for another department? Because it's a loaner.
Thank you, Chief.
One more question, Chief. What happens if this doesn't pass?
If this doesn't pass, if this doesn't pass, I am hoping, like I just said, the ones that are going don't go out of service. If they go out of service, I'll be back in front of the board, asking the board that you're probably going to have to sign a little piece of paper saying if those that they loaned us gets damaged, you're going to be responsible. We're responsible for it now, but that will be after the March deadline. If it gets approved, life is great. We order them the next day, done. If it doesn't get approved, then what will happen is we will try again for another grant. There is no promises for another grant. I believe it's, do not quote me, it's this year. What month it is, I don't know. For easy, we'll say January 1st, 2022. I will come, before then, I will be back in front of the board, explaining to the board that we tried a warrant article, it failed. We tried a grant, we didn't make it. They're coming out of service January 1st, 2021. What does the board want to do? Now, the board's going to have its choice. I believe you can have an emergency meeting, appropriate the funds, or the board's going to say, well, keep them on the trucks. Don't worry about NFPA standards. The town of Newton will take full liability and responsibility for every member that puts one of those on. It's all going to be my decision.
Yep.
Question?
Do I have a question?
Larry.
Was that Larry?
Yeah.
Larry, go ahead.
So to answer Diane's question, I think she's trying to get around is, once they expire, you cannot refurbish, rebuild. You have to buy new under NFPA standards. And I also want the residents and everybody to know, compare this to your police officer. If we issue him a gun, but we don't give him bullets, that's how the Scott packs work.
Good example.
You need air to survive, to go and rescue somebody, but you need a bullet in the gun to for safety reasons for the officers and the residents. So if you compare it that way, that's how critical this equipment is.
To answer your question, Mr. Foote, first part, you're 100% correct. 15 years is 15 years of data service. You can't change that unless the Board of Selectmen vote to change that.
Thank you. This is Diane. That's what I was trying to find out, if they could be refurbished, and that answered my question. Thank you, Selectman Foote.
Okay, I apologize, Diane, I thought you were talking about if they, like the 3 that are out of service now, if they can be refurbished to make new. No, they're not like a fire truck that you can make pretty.
Okay, thank you very much.
Thank you, Mr. Foote.
Thank you, Larry. Thank you, Diane. Thank you, Chief.
Moderator, can we call a vote on the amendment?
Yep. So we started doing that. We had an amendment to add the name, add clause after escape before the period. And we had a second. All in favor of the amendment? Aye. Any opposed? Amendment carries. Mary Jo, are you okay with that? Okay, thank you. Okay, so any more discussion? And I would have got around to that, Lisa, honest. Any more discussion? Okay. Seeing none, are all in favor of Article 9 as amended? Aye. Any opposed? Thank you. Hearing none. Article passes as amended. Mary Jo, thank you. Okay, thank you. Article 10, to see if the town will vote to raise and appropriate, as proposed by the police chief, the sum of $25,000 to be placed in the Police Cruiser and Equipment Capital Reserve Fund created in 2020 for the purpose of maintenance, repairs, and purchase of cruisers and equipment. This article would result in an estimated .039 increase per $1,000 of assessed value to be raised by taxes. The Board of Selectmen does recommend this article 5-0. I believe the chief was going to speak to this. Is he still?
He's still on a call. He's trying to get back here, so I told him I'd cover him this.
Okay.
Pretty self-explanatory. It was on last year's warrant article. Might have even been the year before. So the idea here is to have the flexibility. So if he's got an aging cruiser and he brings that in, and it needs a new transmission for $10,000, he can make the decision to say, I'm going to invest that $10,000 in a new cruiser rather than, good money after bad on an aging cruiser. So that's essentially what this one is all about.
Thank you, Chairman. Any more discussion? Hearing none, will we vote on Article 10 as written? All in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Thank you. Motion carries, or article carries as written. Number 11, to see if the town will vote to raise and appropriate the sum of $30,263 for the following community services. We have our usual list here. Area home care and family services, $3,800. Child Advocacy Center, $2,000. Drugs Are Dangerous, $2,500. Haven, $3,050. NSPCA, $750. Rockingham County Community Action, $5,000. Rockingham Nutrition Meals on Wheels, $2,927. Rockingham Nutrition Meals on Wheels Transportation, $1,600. SOROC, Coalition for Healthy Youth, $4,936. Vic Geary, $2,700. Waypoint, formerly known as Child and Family Services, $1,000, again totaling $30,263.00. This article would result in an estimated .047 increase per $1,000 of assessed value to be raised by taxes. Board of Selectmen does recommend this article 5-0. Chairman Matt?
Yeah, so I think Chief's going to come in right after I finish.
Absolutely,
But
yes.
I think if the chief was here, what he would tell you is these are services we hope no one ever needs in our town. Unfortunately, the fact is they do, and they do a lot of good for people in the community, not always seen by all of us. And we need this. We've had probably, as long as I've been here, this has been on the ballot. We hope people will vote for it, because otherwise, people are still going to need services, and we would have to find other ways out of our existing budget to pay for that. This obviously would help us not have to do that. So,
Thank you, Chairman Matt. Any more discussion? Yes, Mr. Fitzpatrick.
It's a question from Zoom as well.
All right, thank you.
Jamie Fitzpatrick, I just wanted to point out that this is on the warrants every single year, and there's not really an additional $30,623 from last year. So the tax increase of 0.047 is for the entire amount. But the real increase in spending is a fraction of that, because we had it last year, we're just replacing it this year. So you're not really going to be hit by that full amount in taxes
That is correct.
in terms of the differential, because it was already in the baseline anyways.
And
It's gone up like 10%, and it hasn't, but if it had gone up 10%, so I can do my math, it's $3,000. So if it's a total of 3,000 more and 30,000 is 0.047, you're like 0.0047
Okay.
in terms of what the true impact is to you versus last year. So I just wanted to clarify that.
Thank you, Jamie.
Jamie, the increase amount, the exact increase amount is $3,936 over last year, just so you know.
You're in that range then.
Yep.
Thank you. Thank you, Jamie. Thank you, Lisa. Any more discussion
we
on?
had one on the Zoom.
Oh, one on Zoom. Yes, go ahead.
Yeah, this is Roger Hamill. I just want to know, how do people get to know what services are available from the Rockingham Nutrition Transportation?
I don't know the exact answer, but, not to throw it back on him, but I think the police chief is somebody who could help us out with that. So if somebody wanted to reach out to his office.
So police chief, the welfare officer, so anytime someone reaches out to the town, they would be directed to these services?
Tricia?
Yes.
It's in the town report. There's phone numbers for every agency.
Thank you, Nancy.
So
Thank
all
you.
they have to do is call and they can get whatever information they need.
Correct. Thank you. Thank you. And Lisa is correct and Nancy's correct. Tina, our welfare agent, always uses these in references or refers people to these services. So thank you, everybody who asked those questions. Thank you, Roger. Any more discussion on Article 11? Hearing none. All in favor of Article 11 as written?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Hearing none. Article 11 passes as written. Article 12, to see if the town will vote to raise and appropriate, as proposed by Recreation Commission, the sum of $4,500 for recreational programs and trips for Newton senior citizens. This article would result in an estimated .007 increase per thousand of assessed value to be raised by taxes. Board of Selectmen does recommend this article, 5-0. And I believe Pat from Recreation may be on?
Yes, I am here.
Thank you, Pat.
So it was an unusual year, and we didn't get to do the full on-board events or travel. But what we did do for the seniors is give out about 135 lunches and box dinners to residents of Newton, Sergeant Woods, and Packer Meadows. So we're hoping to get back on track this year, and at least if we can't take a trip or we can't have the holiday dinner, at least do some kind of event or offering to seniors in the town. So we'd still like to put the warrant article forward.
Thank you, Pat. Any more discussion? Hearing none. All in favor of Article 12 as written?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed?
Aye.
Hearing none, I don't think I heard any, okay? Hearing none, Article 12 passes as written. Article 13, don't go away, Pat. To see if the town will vote to raise and appropriate, as proposed by the Recreation Commission, the sum of $16,500 to hire 4 part-time lifeguards, 1 part-time supervisor of lifeguards, and to purchase necessary safety equipment to oversee the safety of all swimmers of the of the town of Newton Beach between May 2021 and September 2021. This article would result in an estimated .026 increase per thousand of assessed value to be raised by taxes. The Board of Selectmen does recommend this article 5-0. Pat, would you like to speak to that?
Yes, the lifeguard program this summer was very successful, and this summer we needed it more than ever because the visitors were increased, and the lifeguards really assisted in COVID-related suggestions and recommendations, including keeping things sanitized. So we have Scott Dole, who provides in-service training to the lifeguards and keeps up with that. And we've also supplied more equipment like AEDs and things like that. So we think it's important that the lifeguards are down there for a number of reasons. Safety, of course, is the top one, but perhaps more COVID related recommendations. But the parking issue down there also is monitored by lifeguards. So all around, it's a really good program for the town.
Thank you, Pat. Any more discussion on Article, what article am I on? Sorry, 13? All in favor of article as written?
Aye.
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 Any opposed? Hearing none, article passes as written. Article 14, on a petition of 25 or more legal voters to see if the town will vote to establish a skateboard park expendable trust fund for the purpose of repairing, constructing, reconstructing, and maintaining the skateboard park located at Greenie Park, and to raise and appropriate the sum of $10,000 to be deposited into this fund, and to name the Board of Selectmen as the agents of this fund. This article would result in an estimated .016 increase per thousand of assessed value to be raised by taxes. The Board of Selectmen does recommend this article 5-0. I believe, is Paul the resident who proposed this on Zoom?
Yep, I'm here on Zoom.
Okay,
Can you
go
guys
ahead.
hear me?
Go ahead, Paul.
Okay, so I'm a Newton resident of 5 years now. I'm still currently a skateboarder, and I have 3 boys who are also very interested in skateboarding. And I don't know if you guys know the current condition of the skateboard park down at Greenie Park, but there's a lot of the cement in the structures are starting to crumble, and the asphalt that kind of connects them all have quite a few cracks that are forming. And I'm hoping to use some written grants and fundraising to also come up with the money to do some repairs, and also to kind of create a new structure that will divide the skate park and the playground. And it's also just for a couple of reasons. One would be to keep wood chips from the new playground from kind of getting pushed into the skate park area, and to also kind of create a bit of a wall so that younger children won't be running into the skate park. I know there's a lot of BMX teenagers and kids that are flying through the park, and it just makes it a little dangerous to have the playground so close to it. And so I have kind of 3 plans in mind, kind of just working it out still. It's very early on in the planning, but I've spoken with 2 different skateboard park companies, and they both kind of gave me the same price, about $200,000 to do a complete overhaul. So if I were to do it in phases, I think maybe the most important thing would be to start with that wall that kind of divides the playground and the skate park. And the wall wouldn't just be a wall, it's actually going to end up being part of the skate park on the skate park side. It would have features that could kind of tie in everything else, if that makes sense. So at this point, I'm like I said, I'm very early on in the stages of making this plan, but I've got some pretty good resources and for fundraising and things like that.
Thank you, Paul.
What's his last name?
Paul, what is your last name?
Murray.
Murray?
Paul Murray. Murray?
Yeah, Paul Murray. I don't know if you can hear me. I'm on my
Murray,
phone
Roger.
right now, so.
Could you spell that for me? We're not clear.
Oh, sorry. Yep. Murray.
Oh, okay, great. Thank you so much.
Yep.
Any more discussion on Article 14?
Hold on.
Hold on, Chair.
We're not asking him to vote. He can make comments. He's public. And as a petition article, he has the right to speak to it.
Excellent.
Okay.
Yeah, and he went through the process of getting the petitioned names cleared, right? Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah, yeah.
Yep.
Okay.
No, I think he realizes that, and I did start out this, but if you're not a Newton voter, you can obviously make comments, you just can't vote. But thank you for all your hard work, Paul, we appreciate that.
Yep.
All right, any more discussion on Article 14? Okay, all in favor of Article 14 as written?
Aye.
Any opposed? Hearing none, Article 14 passes as written. Thank you. Thank you, Paul.
Thank you.
Article 15, on a petition of 25 or more legal voters, shall the town of Newton vote to raise and appropriate the sum of $2,500 to support a lake host program at the Newton Town Boat Ramp for the 2021 summer season. The Lake Host program is a collaborative effort between New Hampshire Department of Environmental Services, NH Lakes, and local lake associations. It trains and employs individuals to provide courtesy boat inspections to prevent the spread of aquatic invasive plants such as milfoil from one lake to another, thereby protecting our public lakes and for swimming, fishing, and boating. This article would result in an estimated 0.004 increase per thousand of assessed value to be raised by taxes. The Board of Selectmen does recommend this article 5-0. And I think, Pat, were you going to speak to this as well?
Yes.
Thank you.
So this was the second year of the Lake Coast program, and we were slammed this year. We had 219 inspections where Lake Coast were on duty, and that's more than triple the year before. So also about 15% of the boats arrived from lakes with exotic species infestations like milfoil or fanwort. So if these get into Country Pond, we're in trouble because it's hard to get them out, it spreads like crazy, and it's very costly. So this summer we had 107 volunteer hours, but we also need employee salary hours. So we're hoping that this warrant passes. It also covers what they call weed warriors. These are volunteers who go around in kayaks or canoes and look for infestations. And there's also a volunteer who tests the water and brings it to Concord every week. So it's a good program backed by the New Hampshire Environmental Services, and we hope that this warrant will pass to keep it going.
Thank you, Pat. Any more discussion? Hearing none. Those in favor of Article 15 as written?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Hearing none. Article 15 passes as written. Thank you, Pat, for all your hard work. Thank you. And I believe that concludes our deliberative session.
Trish?
So, Trish.
Yes?
Diane's good.
Oh, yes?
Okay. Mr. Hamel would like to address the assembly.
Okay.
Go ahead, Roger.
Okay, thank you. I actually want to go back to Article number 2. In prior years, we also posted the tax impact of the default budget, and I would like that added to the warrant.
Can't go back, can we?
Well,
Yeah, you can. We can reconsider.
what he's saying is we add to the warrant article an extra line that says, if the default budget passes, the tax impact would be X, Y, Z.
Never put that in before.
Haven't we?
It was on last year, and it's been on for several years.
I don't think so.
All right, well, we have a dilemma. Nancy's going to check into it, I think.
Well, I don't know if you, can you go back?
And I don't know if I can go back, actually. Can I?
Good question. I would think,
Okay. All right, obviously, we want everyone to be able to say what they want to say.
while we check on that,
Yes.
is that a motion, I guess? Is that, was Roger making a motion?
So Roger, was that a motion? Roger?
We don't know what the impact will be.
Yes, that was a motion.
But we can calculate it.
I can't, not.
No, we don't know what the
Well,
impact will be.
not here now, but
Okay.
We can do it if that's what you want to do. I just can't do it right now.
yeah, but I,
Okay, I'd like to say something.
Go ahead, Lisa.
The 2020 town warrant said, "The estimated budget increase from the 2019 actual budget to the 2020 proposed budget reflects a tax impact increase of 0.51 per 1,000 of assessed value. Default budget would result in an estimated tax impact increase of 0.34 per 1,000 of assessed value."
Yep.
So it was on the 2020 warrant last year. So,
Yes, Annie. Come to the mic, please.
Annie Collier. That also had occurred to me. Roger's made an amendment. Do you need a second?
Yes.
I'll second.
Okay. The amendment is unclear, though, because we have to come up with,
We'll have to calculate.
we'll have to calculate it. So can we do the amendment without the, are you going to try to calculate it now?
No, I can't do
You
it now.
can't? Okay.
so can it just be to amend to add default budget would
That's what I'm
result in
thinking.
an estimated tax impact increase of X, whatever it calculates to, per 1,000
Is
of
that
assessed
okay, Mary
value.
Jo?
I'm good with that.
Okay. All right, so we have an amendment by Roger. We have a second by Annie. Nancy is going to work on that so that that figure can be inputted. Inputted, is that a word?
I think so.
I'm not sure. Okay, it sounds good.
We know what you mean.
You know what I mean. Okay. Oh, that's sad if you can read my mind. So we have the motion, we have the amendment. Any more discussion on this? All in favor of the amendment?
Aye.
Any opposed? Amendment carries on Article 2, and once that is calculated, obviously that will be inserted. Thank you, Roger, Lisa, Nancy, Annie, thank you, everybody. Yes, Mr.
I do
Donovan.
have one more question.
1 second, Roger, go ahead.
On a different topic, if you don't mind me asking.
Oh, well, let's ask Roger. Are you still talking about this, Roger?
No, it's on a different matter.
Okay, go ahead, Mr. Donovan.
Okay, I'm hearing through the grapevine, I want to find out if it's true or not, but we're not going to have a candidates night this year?
Oh, I don't know.
That is correct due to COVID-19. What the cable committee is doing is they are requesting that all candidates produce a video of their candidacy that they will then run on the cable channel.
I think the key thing that Lisa, we need to point out is it's not a Board of Selectmen thing, it's a cable committee thing, so I would rather hear from the cable committee on this.
Okay, I'm here hoping that the cable committee will change their mind and do it. We're here today, everybody's safe, we're not having a problem. And people would like to ask questions. I mean, I'm not saying anybody's gonna do it, but as we've seen in the past years, people say things, get questioned because they're not true. If somebody does a video, we're gonna depend on that person to be 100% honest.
We could do that on Zoom.
What's that?
We could do it on Zoom.
Well, we're not doing it, the cable committee is.
Well, we can suggest.
Yeah, again, cable committee, is anybody here from the cable committee that can?
Did anyone,
Yes, I
can
could,
you
huh?
speak to that, Diane?
Yeah. As far as it goes, we are following the CDC guidelines, and we are not going to do it this year. I would suggest you send your questions to the candidate, and they can add those answers to their response when they record their video.
All right, I just think it's a waste of time because you can't rebuttal and whatever.
I'm not able to hear him.
Yeah, Edvin in the back.
I can't see. Is someone, okay, yes, come forward. Oh, Edvin, I didn't see you.
Hi, Edwin Cronlick, Golds Hill Road. I'm also a candidate for a selectman. I'm going to go off what Mr. Dunman said. I mean, we're in this room right now. How many people? Candidates night should happen. You know, I'm worried for people like who don't have access to a computer, maybe can't write an email, can't ask me a question. I want to make sure all of our citizens, especially the ones who are voting, are able to ask myself and the rest of the candidates on every position questions. And I think candidates night is very important for this town, especially a small town like ours. So that's just wanted to make a public comment on that. Thank you.
Thank you, Edvin. Thank you. I think Mr. Donovan said, do you want me to repeat it? To let the town residents decide. So again, to decide to have a live candidates night as opposed to, as Edvin said, people that maybe don't have the ability to see it in a video, they could at least come here. Mr. Donovan?
Close to what I was saying. I was just saying if we have a candidates night, just like today, it should be the townspeople's decision if they want to be here or not.
Okay.
I'm sure a lot of people have questions, there's people running nobody's ever met before. So, just to be fair to everybody, that's all.
Thank you. Did I see someone else with a hand up? Roger, I think you had something to say?
Yes, basically it's a question for Mary Jo. Is concern for the coronavirus an acceptable reason to request an absentee ballot for the town election?
Yes.
Yes.
As the same with the primary and the general election in September and in November. COVID-19 concerns falls under the disability category of requesting an absentee ballot. Secretary of State's office did not change our forms to reflect that, but it still falls under the guidelines of disability. And we are requesting that those that do not want to come out, please take an absentee ballot. Every single one of them was returned. Every single one of them was counted. It is an almost 100% flawless procedure. The only thing that makes it not flawless is the people that don't return their ballots. Okay, so.
So a person that line isn't on the request, you would just check the box that says I'm unable
You check
to.
the disability box. It is falls under the disability.
Okay, thank you very much.
You're welcome.
So if I could go back to
you,
the
Roger. Go ahead.
meet the candidates thing, and I think what Mr. Donovan's asking for is, again, the cable committee puts this thing together. There's no statute, there's no ordinance about candidates night, right? It's the cable commission has always put it together, hosted it. They, you know, obviously it's on cable and stuff. So might I suggest if somebody wanted to make a motion, maybe it's Bob, for a non-binding vote to hold a candidates night, we could get essentially a public opinion poll right here and right now as to whether people want to do it,
Okay,
if we want to do that.
thank you.
That would be a pretty small representation of the town, though.
It's what we have, though.
But it's what we have.
I know we've got such a large representation today.
Right.
Can vote on warrant articles.
Kate Michaels has her
Which
hand
is what,
raised.
my point is,
Okay,
the people who, I'm sorry, I need to respond to Mr. Donovan's statement. The point I am making is the people who are here today and on Zoom today are here because they knew it was a deliberative session. The vote we are calling for now was not a topic that was brought up prior to this meeting or prior to this moment. If any townspeople had any feelings, pro or against, they were not aware of this, so they would not have been able to make their feelings known. That's all I'm saying.
That's why it's non-binding.
Okay, thank you. Let's let Mr. Fitzgerald speak.
Fitzpatrick.
Fitzpatrick, sorry. Jamie.
First time anyone's done
Yeah.
It never happened before. I like the idea. I will make the motion to just get a straw poll, which is non-binding. But it also suggests that if the cable committee decides that they don't want to do it, the selectmen could have one of their own.
Yeah,
Because it's very important to have people come out and have a candidates night and let the people introduce themselves and have an opportunity of an interactive discussion. So I think it's very important to do, and I'd make a motion to do a straw poll, non-binding, to just get a sense of who's present.
I'll second it.
Second for discussion, I think Jamie from the cable committee has something. The other Jamie.
No, I'm not. So Jamie Saucy, a resident of East Kingston, cable community manager, cable manager. I'm worried about the timing of it. We had sent notice to all of the candidates that this was happening, and the candidate filing date was yesterday. So everyone's received the notice that this is the way we're proceeding, and if you disenfranchise any of the candidates by moving in a different direction, I would be worried about that as well.
Quick question, how did we get noticed?
That's right. This
we
just
gave it to
happened
the-
yesterday.
Yeah, we gave it to the town clerks.
When people signed up,
Yes.
when they filed their intentions, they would give
Okay.
the information of what the virtual candidates night or whatever they were doing, they were given that information.
As well as
I do not have contact on how to get back to these people.
Okay.
As well as the Sanborn Regional School District when they signed up for a Newton seat. So that's just the logistics side of the decision. You know, yes, this is safe. Yes, we could have done Zoom, but I take my direction from the committee as well. So that's.
Thank
my
you,
comments.
Jamie.
Yep.
Kate Michaels has been raising her hand repeatedly.
Yeah, I'll ask Zoom people after the people in the room. Go ahead, Annie.
Hi, I'm Annie Collier, and as a candidate for re-election to the Sanborn District School Board Budget Committee, I'd like to say I received no such notification, and I signed up for that a week and a half ago. So I think there's been a little gap in communication potentially, and it could be covered by a new notice to all candidates who have, with any new decision that is made either by the selectmen or by the cable committee in response to the straw vote today. Thank you.
Thank you, Annie. Kate, did you have something to say?
Well, after I heard what the cable committee said, it could be that everyone has the opportunity to do the video statement, and in addition, if possible, we host a short Q&A.
Can you just speak up a little bit more, Hein?
I'd say that I'm not, because it's already been sent out, it sounds like it potentially a second, everyone could do their video, hand in, but I would be in favor of some kind of interactive thing. I would be in favor of a hybrid because that it would allow the most people to ask questions. I'm not sure how it could be done, but I think that's pretty important.
Can I make a
Thank you, Kate.
Can I make
Go
a
ahead.
suggestion? I know there's a motion on the floor and we should call for the vote, but so Tuesday night there's a Board of Selectmen's meeting, right? We could put it on the agenda, and whether or not the Cable Commission decides to do their thing, that's fine. Whatever, because they only have so much manpower and stuff. We could vote on the Tuesday meeting as a Board of Selectmen whether we want to host one, and additionally, people have whatever that is, 3 days to give us feedback as to whether they want it or don't want it or whatever, via email, don't call me, please.
Everyone call Matt, no.
Give my phone number, but they can email us so on Tuesday we can take the vote, see if we want to sponsor it as a Board of Selectmen and people can watch. Mike, what do we have, 1 million viewers? Something like that on Tuesday nights, so
Okay.
that's what I'm going to throw out.
So we have a motion on the floor. Oh, hold on one second. We've had a second, and we've had discussion. Nancy, a further
I just wanted to
discussion?
make sure the board mentions we're only allowed 30 people in here, and we've had more than that in the past.
But we would have to advertise like we did for this, when maximum is reached.
Yep.
Yep, absolutely. Thank you for that.
Yep.
But as Kate said, the hybrid worked today,
Right.
so it could work again.
Thank you. Okay, so we have a motion, we have a second, we've had discussion. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed?
I abstain.
Nay.
Okay.
I don't feel I can vote on something that I would benefit from being a candidate.
All right. Motion passes.
So we'll put it on for Tuesday. So if anybody's hearing this and has an opinion, please, sorry, Diane, BOSsecretary@newtonnh.net.
Yeah, right. All right, I think, is there any more discussion on anything? And if not, I'm going to adjourn.
Before you do that, though, can we thank Trish because she came in at pretty much the last minute. The moderator has a work obligation, couldn't be here today, so Trish did a lot of work to put this together.
Oh, thank you.
COVID-19 notwithstanding, a lot of planning, so thank you, Trish McCarthy. For,
Thank you.
And I stand corrected, I can't adjourn, this is only recess, because then on the 9th, we are back together again. So thank you.
I love recess.
I know, right? Thank you, everybody.
Thank you.
Well, that's a state thing because we're nonpartisan, that wouldn't apply to us.
Oh, okay.
Okay, so your candidates are either Republican or Democrat, you're talking straight ticket type thing?
Yeah, right.
Yeah, they took that off years ago. Yeah, take that up with them.
I never paid attention because I've never done it.
Yeah, neither have I. A few years back, I was like, oh, look it, because someone said to me, how come they don't have that same thing? I said, they took that off years ago. Years ago.